Listen up, guys. It's not nothing about nobody else right now. It's about us. It's our chance. It's our time. Do your part. Everybody play a part today. Last year was last year. This shit over. Make your own identity. Make something different.
Yeah, I'm about to step in the ring for the fight of my life. Hit my knees and I strap on my gloves. Boy, I've been...
Thank you for joining us on our debut edition of the Alvin Parker Coaches Show. I'm Sean Robertson. We got a lot to get into with Virginia Union. Game number 2 on the schedule Saturday afternoon as they make the trip to Shaw University to play the Bears. We're going to talk about that and also their huge season opening win against Morehouse as part of the Black College Hall of Fame kickoff in Canton, Ohio, as they knocked off Morehouse. But we're going to talk to the head coach of Virginia Union, Dr. Alvin Parker. First of all, welcome to your show, your debut edition of the Alvin Parker Coaches Show.
Thanks. Glad to be here, man, and love the setup.
Yeah, when I walked in, I was like, this is a pretty nice setup here we got with a lot of Virginia Union paraphernalia and things of that nature. You're at home right now.
Correct.
Let's first start off a bit the season opening win. You guys made the trip to Canton, Ohio to play Morehouse as part of this Hall of Fame Classic. Talk to me about how the week it was leading up to the game, and then the stepping onto the field, the Hall of Fame stadium where the Hall of Fame game is played, and having the opportunity to be on a national stage against Morehouse.
Well, kind of the trip was was not as long as we've taken since I've been here. It was about a 7-hour trip, so we got out of here on Friday, early Friday morning. So we got there, we kind of, put ourselves into maybe like what most would consider like a Thursday type of routine for us. So we kind of did what we would normally do on a Thursday then. And then Saturday kind of broke into a pregame type of thing for us. So we did what we would do on a Friday. But we added some stuff in there. We took those guys to the Hall of Fame, so that was kind of amazing. Those guys to see that, and then we had a walkthrough on Friday in the stadium, just so when we got there on Sunday, it wouldn't be all new to the guys. So, it was an amazing time that we had up there. Hopefully we get invited back next year, but, I was glad we was able to go up there and put a product on the field that, we could stand behind and show all the good work that we've been doing over the summer.
What was it like to go into the Hall of Fame for you and also the players? I did see a clip that you had a chance to see Coach Bailey's plaque and also Coach Taylor's plaque in Canton.
That was great. That whole exhibit that they have set up down there for the HBCU Hall of Fame is something that's amazing because it's a whole lot of people in there that did a lot of good things in the NFL, as well as, for Black College. So, all the guys got to see that. Of course, on that top floor, they got all those heads and those statues and everything like that. So it was something that was amazing for those guys to see too. And, when they was leaving, all the guys was rushing to gift shop. Everybody wanted some type of memorabilia because they were glad to be there. So, I was just happy for the guys to see that. It was my second time seeing it. So, I thought it would underwhelm me a little bit, but it did the same thing. It still kind of, I felt like a kid too.
The game was Sunday on the NFL Network, and looking at some of the numbers as far as the other HBCU games that were broadcasted on Labor Day weekend, Virginia Union's game against Morehouse was the second most watched Black college football game in the country. Jackson State, I believe, was the highest viewed, along with Florida A&M in the Orange Blossom Classic down in Miami. To hear those numbers for Virginia Union, what goes through your mind when you hear that?
Shoot. I knew how many viewers they said, could possibly watch based on people that had the NFL Network, but to imagine that many people would watch us is something that, is amazing. I just was glad everybody got to see our brand, not just from a football standpoint, but from a school standpoint. This is my alma mater. So, I went here, and we didn't get a chance to play on the stage quite that big when I was here, or even when I coached here early on. So to be the head coach now and to kind of, put us in a situation where we can be seen that way, it just feels amazing. That's all I can really say. Thank you to everybody that watched, and thank you to everybody that even came, So, I was proud to be a Virginia Union Panther that day.
And hearing the game, it sounded like it was a home game for Virginia. You had a huge turnout, a huge alumni base making the trip from Richmond to Canton to make that kind of like Hovey to a certain degree. And it seemed like the guys fed off of that, especially early on when you wanted to show the brand against Morehouse, and you made a statement early on against Morehouse.
Yeah, I really didn't notice how many people were in the crowd till we came back out from halftime, and I looked up and around, and I was just like, wow, our side was flooded, but all the parents, all the supporters, all the people that who've been watching these kids play since they've been little, they came to support them, so that's what I was happy about, Again, like I said, I was proud to be a Virginia Union Panther that day, just not necessarily the coach of this program, but just proud to be from Virginia Union.
I know we talked in the offseason. You didn't want to make this game bigger than what it was because it was the first game of what you hope to be 11 games played before you make the postseason. But looking back, this is a pretty big deal for Virginia Union football to be on that stage and to perform the way that you guys did on a national stage. That was huge.
It was extremely huge. I think first, we heard we were going to be on the NFL Network. It was like, yeah, let's button this thing up. Let's make sure we got this thing all the way right. That's kind of first and foremost because we thought so many people were going to be watching. But at that point, getting closer and closer to the game and hearing so much about it, you just say, well, let's get up here and play this, because it just has so much behind it. But I think, the most important thing that we did was kind of keep those guys on a normal schedule, not make it bigger than what it was, and just kind of focus on it being another football game. So once you do that, I think everything else falls into place, and it did. So, these guys did an excellent job of just following everything that the coaching staff and everybody asked of them. And when we made that trip, everything was on point. Usually you'll have a trip where this might go wrong, that might go wrong, but this was a trip where everything went right. So, it led to the game going right.
Second straight year that you started the season with a high-profile victory. Last year was Valdosta State at their place when they were ranked second in the country. This year you beat Morehouse convincingly. This was no question. What do you think that will do nationally for Virginia Union football, that in back-to-back years you go on the road or on a neutral site and that you took care of business against a team? Maybe some people thought, especially with Valdosta State, some people thought you were going to lose, and then you go to Morehouse on the national stage and show the country about Virginia Union.
Well, I think these guys, the most thing that they want to do is, create their own identity. So anytime I bring up something from last year, those guys kind of look at me like, nah, coach, we're kind of our own team, and they want that. So, I want to give it to them. They want to create their own identity, and I think the difference with these guys, they felt like a lot of the stuff that they were given this season was based off the team from last year. So that makes them morally want to go out there and set their own mark, So, I think after coming off of the Valdosta, we wasn't ranked before we went to Valdosta.
Right.
I think we had to maybe play another week before we even got ranked. So these guys started the season off ranked. They was already kind of put in position, for that. So again, like I said, these guys want to make their own mark, and I want them to as well. They've done a lot of good things to show that, they have the capacity to be a great team.
And it didn't seem like that pressure of being ranked to start this season didn't seem like it bothered this group. It seemed like they handled that pressure to the best of their ability.
They did. We have a few new guys that's kind of jumping in, so they have no idea about how things kind of went last year. They kind of here and ready to kind of work, but the guys that were here last year know what the expectations are, and they spilling them over to some of the new guys that are here as well. But, I think it has set the expectations a little bit higher, but I think these guys have embraced it just like we have, and we know no matter who we play, we got to go out there and we got to show up and we got to play Panther football.
And they certainly did, as they took care of Morehouse 45-12 to start the season 1-0. We're going to talk to a couple of the players in just a minute as we continue our debut edition of the Alvin Parker Coaches Show. We'll have Coach back later on in the show to talk about more about that game and also what's on tap as Shaw University is ahead for Virginia Union coming up on Saturday. More on the Alvin Parker Coaches Show right after this.
The styles you want, the brands you love, with the service you deserve. Better Menswear. From formal to casual wear, we carry quality men's clothing at sensible prices, where fashion and service meet affordability. That is Better Menswear.
We're back here on the Alvin Parker Coaches Show. We had a chance to talk to the head coach of Virginia Union, and we'll bring him back on a little bit later on in the show. But right now we're going to talk to two of the key defensive players that made an impact in the season-opening win against Morehouse on Sunday. We got Jabril Norman, came up with a huge pick-6 in the win against Morehouse. And we also have Shamir Graham, who had a team-leading 9 tackles in the victory on Sunday. He's a young man from right here in this area, played his high school ball at TJ. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Appreciate it for having me.
Yes, sir.
We were joking with you, Jabril, about the interception, and how you got a little winded, but you told us you got a little offensive background, so that didn't really bother you coming back on defense after that play.
Yeah, I just, tapped into my old running back days. Back in North Carolina, played a little ball. I felt like Jada a little bit.
Well, let's talk about that play, because it was 7-0. I believe it was 7-0 or 7-7 at that point. I believe it was 7-0. 7-0.
7-0. Yeah.
Okay, and then you come up with the play. What did you see, and then coming up with the interception and taking it back the other way?
Oh, well, it was just like, one, I was very tired. You know what I mean? Because they was hitting us pass back to back. So I dropped back, having to look up, and it was just there. So and then if you had some more pregame, I was dropping all the balls. Like we was doing our pregame when I dropped every single ball. And then thank God I caught that one. And then shoot, it was just off on the race from there. It just I tapped in. I didn't even feel like it was me playing. It was more God, if anything.
And you read your blocks like
a
running
running
back
I read
should.
my blocks, yeah. Then shout out to my man Crump, what number he is? 52.
Okay.
Yeah, because he had like 2 great blocks.
He did.
You know what I mean? Coming down on that touchdown. So yeah, shout out to him, because I probably would have got caught for real.
But you didn't, and that
Good
would seem
thing
like
I
that was a
didn't,
turning
yeah.
point in the game. But for both of you, and we'll start with you, Shamar, first. Just the experience of going to Ken, playing in this game, playing on a national stage, getting an opportunity to go to the Hall of Fame and see all the legendary HBCU players that have either a bust or also a plaque in Ken. What did that mean to both of you guys to travel that and also to play on that stage?
Really, for me, the biggest thing was just getting the opportunity, not only for myself, but for my teammates and the university as well. So that really was the main thing. Like it was surreal, and it's still like, even days after, it's still like, dang, we really did that, man. For us to go up there and then win the way that we did, although we started off a little sluggish in the beginning, this first game thing. So really, it was just the opportunity. It was just a blessing, really.
Yeah, same for me, because like that's the last thing I thought I would be doing. A couple months from now, I'd be playing in Ohio. On TV. I didn't even know it was being broadcasted on TV. Till Coach said something in practice. So that definitely played an impact on it. It was just like, all right, now everything got to be perfect. We got to be on point, execute right, and yeah, pretty much that's about it.
Did you feel a little extra pressure, given the fact that it was on national television? There were going to be more eyes probably watching this game for Virginia Union than maybe any game this season.
For me personally, I wouldn't really say it was too much pressure or anything, because we've been playing football since we were young. So it was more so of a pressure thing for us to come out and, like Coach said earlier, to show them that although we fell short last year, that this team we got our own identity, and we want to show people that it's something new coming around. It's not what everybody expected last year. Not to downplay what we did, but the stuff that we do have now, I feel as though like there's a lot of great things coming this way.
What did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was, pretty good. Just one thing of it was the focus part of it, because like for me, I put myself in situations to be pressured, you know what I mean? So when the time come, I should be perfect, execute how it needed to be done. So, but as far as I feel like everybody's energy was there, nobody was nervous or, you know what I mean? Because like you said, we all been playing since we was little, so it's nothing we never did before. Just know that we on TV, and that's all. It was just that back of the mind thing, but nobody really let it affect them. So, yeah, we did pretty good, in my opinion.
Right. Sure, you was talking about the fact, the slow start and then the interception by Jabril that kind of seemed like it turned the tide in that favor. What was talked about amongst the defensive side, maybe saying, or was there talk about, we have to do a little bit more on defense to kind of keep everything straight, so the offense can do their thing? Was that talked about on the sidelines before Jabril had the pick six?
Yeah, I mean, really, the main thing with everybody was our focal point on defense this year is last year we had a tremendous defense, but this year we really been focusing on turnovers and helping our offense more. It shouldn't always be the offense having to put points on the board. I know it comes a dime a dozen on defense, but we need to do everything right correctly so we can make sure and ensure that we had the opportunity to capitalize on those things. So really it was just us just trying to keep everybody head level no matter what the game was, how it was going. It was defense got to stay locked in. We got to keep that hammer going. Like can't slack off not 1 inch. Like,
Jabril, did you think that was, your pick six? Obviously, big play. Did you think that was a turning point in the game, given when it took place?
I feel like it was just more like an extra add-on because it was like nothing that we couldn't do. You know what I mean? We know how good we are, so like both sides of the ball. What really set us back was mostly the penalties. You know what I mean? That kept them as far as working with us, but like for defense, we hold ourselves to a high standard, so I feel like that didn't affect us too bad. So yeah.
So you come off the emotional victory, the emotional high of the win Sunday. Now you go back on the road to play Shaw University. I believe this is a non-conference game, even though it is a conference opponent.
right.
The mindset going into this battle against Shaw University.
I would say the mindset is just like it is every week. 1 week at a time, one game at a time, and everything else that go on is just we got to make sure that we're straight on what Virginia Union does, and we focus on those things, and we are our biggest opponent, so each week we just go in and with the same focus.
Well, guys, we wish you the best of luck.
Appreciate it.
Take care of business down there in Raleigh, the Raleigh-Durham area against Shaw University. Hopefully you come back, go 2-0 to start the season.
That's the goal.
That's the goal.
We got Jabril and Shamar joining us here on the Alvin Parker Coaches Show. We're going to shift to the other side of the ball, talk offense. We got two key players on the offensive side after that victory on Sunday. We'll talk to them and also have Coach Parker later in the show when the Alvin Parker Coaches Show continues right after this.
Hello, Virginia Union Panthers. This is Jonathan Cotton with the Good Feet Store. And I'm proud to announce that the Good Feet Store is now an official partner of Virginia Union Athletics. We, of course, want all of you to come to Short Pump to the Good Feet Store so you can live the life you love without your feet getting in the way. But there's more to it than that. We believe that historically black colleges and universities have deserved more of a spotlight than you have historically had. The success on this field this year with Virginia Union football deserves more attention than it's received, as do the many accomplishments of men and women athletes over the years at Barco Stevens Hall. The greater Richmond community needs to realize what a treasure we have on Lombardi Street. The Good Feet Store looks forward to continued success as we partner with Virginia Union University. Go Panthers!
All right, we're back here on the Alvin Parker Coaches Show, recapping what took place on Sunday. The Panthers' big win to start the season against Morehouse. We talked defense in our last segment. Now we're going to talk offense. And joining us now are two of the quarterbacks for Virginia Union. You got starter Christian Reed over here, and we also have R.J. Rosales joining us here on the show. Guys, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you for having me.
Let's go from the offensive perspective. How did you think, as a whole, the team played on Sunday against Morehouse?
I feel just getting the grasp of everything. I think we kind of started out a little slow, but I think we established what we wanted to do, knew what we had to do, and I think the outcome showed for itself.
Christian?
I think ultimately we were on a stage where we could just show that we were, a complete offense. We were able to play complementary football with defense and special teams as well. But once we got the opportunity to kind of get rolling, I feel like, we, like RJ said, we established who we are as an offense and what we wanted to do. And, as long as we stay in front of the sticks, nobody can really play with us.
Now, your two defensive teammates we're talking about, there might be a little bit of nerves, a little bit, not a whole lot. From your perspective, were there some nerves getting onto the field, playing in that stadium where the Hall of Fame game was played last month, and all of the stuff that had gone on prior to the game?
I know me personally, my heart was beating out of my chest that first drive. My heart was beating out of my chest. Just being in that opportunity or having that opportunity, it's a lot of us that really aren't even supposed to be here right now. And, I think that's one of the things that was key for me, just kind of soaking it all in, you belong here. And I think that was the biggest thing for me. But once, like I said, the flow of the game started to happen, I feel like everybody on all sides of the ball settled in and we just played Virginia Union football.
All right, Christian, Roger, what did it mean for you to represent Virginia Union on that stage? Second most watched HBCU game in the country, and the way you guys performed on that stage against Morehouse. What did that mean for you?
I mean, it was everything and more. Just what Coach Parker's really established in us, play for 11, do your part. It's bigger than you. It's the alumni, it's the coaches, it's the culture. You know, I couldn't have been more happy with how the outcome turned out.
And you talked about the alumni, a great support system came out to Canton to see you guys play. What was that like when Coach Parker mentioned about when he got to see it at halftime? First of all, did y'all get a chance to kind of see how big a turnout it was? And how were you able to kind of block that out and just focus on the task at hand?
I tried to tune it out the best that I can. I didn't want to look up into the stand just because I didn't want to see who all was there, honestly. But, you know, obviously your reality kind of sets in and you realize the stage that you're playing on. And, you know, it was pretty cool just to have everybody know that we had the support and everybody had our backs from, you know, all the way out here in Richmond to Canton, Ohio.
RJ, you mentioned about the slow start early on offensively. Jabril gets that pick six to push the lead, and then it seemed like the offense then got into a rhythm. What did you kind of see offensively after the Jabril pick six that kind of got the wheels in motion offensively?
I was excited. I'm writing plays on the clipboard. I threw the clipboard when he scored. So I think just understanding how much the defense had our back, and it's okay, guys, let's go ahead, let's do what we do. Let's put this one away. Let's go ahead, let's get back on that bus and just enjoy this victory as a team and get ready for next week.
Christian, you got a chance to almost to see, kind of see like the biggest name in the conference to a certain degree in Jada, what he was able to do on that stage and off. So the offensive line, seeing it from your perspective, how impressive was those six guys on Sunday?
Jada says it all the time. We have the best front five in the country. Like, I don't think there's a better front five. And even like in our two deep, I don't think there's anybody better than us. Honestly, those guys, they put in a lot of work. They're coached really, really well. They play hard. They're attentive to detail. So just being able to be behind those guys and know that those guys have our backs, the entire team's back, you know, it's really good to be with them.
Now, Coach is not hearing this, but do you sometimes become a fan when, you know, after you hand it off and you kind of see the play set up and develop? Do y'all kind of be like, man, this is a pretty good seat?
I got chewed out in a meeting the following day because Jada had scored, and I watched, like, kind of handed the ball off and watched him and kind of celebrated with him. I was supposed to be carrying out a fake, but he's just an exciting player. Like, I couldn't help myself, so.
RJ, does that happen from time to time?
It does, but I feel like he reminds me of myself, so I trust him to do his job.
Well, you get the big victory, but now you come back, go back on the road on Saturday against Shaw University. Big game to kind of set the tone the rest of the way. Thought process going into the matchup against Shaw on Saturday.
They're a very good football team. They're well coached. Obviously, it's always about, you know, what we do, how we can handle ourselves, how we can prepare, how we go out there and we play. Obviously, you know, starting fast is one of the bigger objectives that we have for this week. So really, you know, like I said, they're well coached, but right now it's just about how we play Virginia Union football.
Do you like the bullseye, RJ? You start the season off nationally ranked. You go on that stage and beat Morehouse, seeing you know you're going to get everybody's best game each week. Kind of like that?
I love that, you know, but it's just been established to us, do our part, you know, respect all, fear none, and just go in every week, 1-0. And I think that's going to be our plan regardless of who we play.
Saturday afternoon, Shaw University and Virginia Union. Kickoff is 1 o'clock down in the Raleigh-Durham area. You'll see the two quarterbacks on display against Shaw University. RJ, Christian, thanks for the time. Good luck to you guys. Hopefully you come back with another victory.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We're going to come back and wrap it up with head coach Dr. Alvin Parker on the Alvin Parker Coaches Show right after this. All right, back on our final segment of the Alvin Parker Coaches Show. We're back with head coach Alvin Parker. You had a chance to hear from your defensive players, your defensive standouts, and your quarterbacks in the past two segments. Christian mentioned that you chewed him out a little bit when he didn't when he became a fan to a certain degree. I'm assuming that's the mindset you kind of want the team to know about, like, hey, we'll accept the win or a great play, but we want to continue to be as intense and to continue to play, not just to kind of be a fan to a certain degree. Even though I at times they're fans to us.
We got an extremely coachable group. That's first and foremost. So when those guys get to watching a little bit, coach kind of kick in. But we have an extremely coachable group, and they do everything that we ask of them. So as a coach, you kind of strive for perfection a lot of times. So I get caught up in that sometimes. But these guys do a great job, just following the plan. So I'm happy to have them.
A little bit of a short week when you're going to play Shaw on Saturday, coming off of Sunday's win. We touched on it a little bit during your press conference earlier in the week about preparing for Shaw and playing on the road. And, you want the home game, but in a way, this might not be a bad thing to go back on the road to play Shaw University on Saturday.
I think you find yourself a lot of times on the road because it takes a different type of focus. You got to pack everything up and put the show on the road. So I think you find out a lot about yourself when you take the show on the road. So, we found a lot about ourselves, last week. We'll find a little bit more about ourselves this week. So, we're eager, and we know it's going to be a tough challenge for us because Shaw's a good ball club. I don't think that last week's score was any way indicative of the type of team that they are. Coach Jones has a tough team. They're always physical. The last time they came up here, they beat us. We know we got to go down there and be ready.
What stands out about this group that Coach Jones has?
I think they play a little bit faster than they have in the past, and they're a little bigger than they have been in the past. So and they have a lot more ball players than they have in the past. So they did a great job of putting some pieces together in the off season. So like I said, it just wasn't indicative of what we thought it would be last week, but we know what type of team they have.
You mentioned last time they came to Richmond and they won. Has that been talked about, even though this is an entirely different group, but just to keep the focus because this team could come back and get us?
I think the people around here know that was around here when they came and did that, know that, and they know what type of focus we got to have going into them now. Again, it's kind of week by week for us around here, and the thing that they say a lot of the times is the kids talk about, December and some things like that, but they talk about it on a week by week basis. So, it's good to have the lofty goals, but it's also good to focus on the right now goals too. So I think those guys have been focusing on the right now goals, and some of the new guys, they don't know what happened in 21, so that's what it is.
It seems like the guys, this year's team has really bought in with the play for 11, take it week by week, not focusing too far ahead. They just focus on the task at hand.
Yeah, I mean, you heard two quarterbacks kind of up here, and they talked about it, and with those two guys, they kind of, show how that roll. Those two guys kind of share time at that position. We have a 1A and a 1B, so to speak, and, and they still do their parts. And a lot of that play for 11 talks about doing your part, doing your job, and those guys do their job. Even with the two guys that was up here prior with Shamon Jabril, those guys do their job. They kind of play side by side with one another, and you're only going to be good as the guy next to you, so you got to count on the guy next to you really. And then you got to make sure that, again, you're taking this thing week by week. When you start to look a little bit ahead, that's when you start to trip. So.
Before we let you go, couple of superlatives this week. I believe Jada was named Offensive Back of the Week in the CIAA. I believe one of your offensive linemen,
Justin Meade,
was named Offensive Lineman of the Week. Justin Meade, area guy. How big was that for those two to be recognized?
It's almost like you don't see one without seeing the other. When Justin comes around there, Jada's usually right behind him. So, I was glad to see that. And Brady Myers, he's been a faithful for us. He's been here for 2 years, but, every time he put his foot on the ball, something special happens. So, we're glad to have him.
And those three, along with the rest of the team, they will be in action Saturday afternoon. They will take on Shaw University down in the Raleigh-Durham area. Kickoff is at 1 o'clock. Hopefully, the Panthers will come back home 2-0 to start the season. Pretty good debut edition of the Coach's Show.
I like it.
You like it?
I like it.
Do it again next week?
Let's do it again next week.
All right. Thanks, Coach, for the time. Good luck to you this week against Shaw.
Thank you.
Thanks to Coach Parker and also to the players for joining us on our debut edition of the Alvin Parker Coach's Show. I'm Sean Robertson. Thanks for joining us this week, and join us next week when we have Dr. Parker, along with some other players, joining us on the Alvin Parker Coach's Show.
I'm already covered in blood, walking in love. This for the ones who've been stuck in the mud, searching for hope. Trust me, I know what it feel like to drown in my problems, but God came and threw me the rope. Can't of my life, I've been battling lies. I found the truth and took off my disguise. Come from my head, I still live for the prize. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I was in the city going down, trying to blow. Everything changed when I learned to let it go.